another format, which is PowerPoint. So today we're gonna cover chapter 3, organizational structure and governance. Chapter 2, we talked about leadership style, right? Now we are talking about organization, the real structure of the organization. So we're gonna see how we can structure the leadership style to certain organization, and then how we can govern the system and organization. So leadership is like always expressed within some form of organizational structure. Okay, it is form of the structure or governance system. Okay, here we have, like, for example, the states, right? Every state, every country, they have constitution, right? With constitution and without the system, like, administrator, Congress, court system, it cannot be realized in real life without that system to make the real end of constitution. So we need the system to make the constitution to be happen in real world setting. So structure provides order, define roles, and it is making sure accountability. So they also shape how leaders exercise authorities and how followers participate in decision making. So understanding this framework is essential for effective leadership in church, schools, and business. So how it depends how well we understand what the leadership style is, and then how we can practice the leadership style in real world, which is the system, organizational structure, and governance. Through those things, the leadership styles is practiced, and then the vision statement, those things can be also practiced through system and governance. Okay, here we're gonna watch. There are several different styles of organizational structure, like hierarchical structure, functional structure, flat structure, matrix structure, network structures. Okay, see how we have many different organizational structures happen in real system, the organizations.
Hello everyone, welcome to Business School 101.
Okay.
1. The organizational structure of some traditional companies could look like this. However, some technology companies' structures might look like this. In the real business world, depending on the industry, size, and stage, companies could have significantly different types of organizational structures. Organizational structure is the backbone of all the operating procedures and workflows at any company. It determines the place and the role of each employee in the business and is key to organizational development. In this video, I will introduce the 6 most common types of organizational structures, which include hierarchical structure, functional structure, flat structure, divisional structure, matrix structure, and network structure. Within each one, I will also discuss its advantages and disadvantages. Type 1. Hierarchical structure. A hierarchical organizational structure contains a direct chain of command from the top of the organization to the bottom. Senior management makes all critical decisions, which are then passed down through subsidiary levels of management. If someone at the bottom of this organizational pyramid wants to make a decision, they pass the request up through the chain of command for approval. The hierarchical structure has the following advantages. 1. Control orientation. Having a hierarchical structure helps employees understand the various levels of leadership. This is because management roles are clearly defined in this pyramid structure. 2. Clear career and promotion path. There is a clear career path through this type of organization, with employees gradually advancing through the various levels of management over a number of years. 3. Clearly defined authority. Companies with a hierarchical structure have different levels of authority and power. This means employees will have direct supervisors they can report to. This eases the flow of communication and ensures employees know from whom their direction and working orders are coming. Disadvantages of the hierarchical structure include the following. 1. Poor communication. Dividing employees into different departments and levels can lead to a lack of communication. This is because there are so many supervisors you'll need to get in contact with rather than one sole executive. 2. Slow decision making. The hierarchical system takes time for management decisions to percolate down through the various levels of management. If a company operates in a swiftly changing environment, this can mean that the business is slow to react to competitive and environmental pressures. 3. Added costs. A hierarchical system requires a considerable amount of corporate overhead to support the senior management group, including extra layers of management and control departments. This can be an excessive burden on profits when the bureaucracy is especially bloated. Type 2. Functional structure. A functional organizational structure is a business structure that groups employees by specialty, skill, or related roles. It is based on levels of hierarchy that include different departments under the direction of designated leaders. Businesses commonly operate under a functional structure because it groups people who have similar knowledge and, when used in a team environment, helps companies achieve their goals. The functional organizational structure works best for larger companies that employ multiple people with similar roles. In smaller companies, there may not be enough employees with related skills to justify grouping them into separate departments. There are many advantages to employing a functional structure in your business. 1. Increased productivity. People in a functional structure setting have specialized skills that allow them to work more quickly and efficiently than those who may be unfamiliar with specific subjects, which leads to greater productivity. 2. Skill development. Companies following a functional organizational structure have multiple departments composed of small teams. Within each team, experienced managers have the chance to teach their team members the same skills they possess, resulting in an enhanced skill set for all involved. 3. Clarity. When companies bring people of the same specialty together, it creates an environment of clarity. Anytime someone within the company needs high-level information related to marketing, human resources, customer service, or operations, they know where to go. 4. Minimized cost of operation. By organizing employees according to business functions, departments can reduce the chance for multiple departments to complete similar work. Giving tasks to individuals with the right skills also saves money because work gets performed more efficiently. Some of the disadvantages of functional organizational structures include 1. Hindered decision making. For companies that thrive on greater flexibility and creativity, the functional organizational structure may impact their ability to operate efficiently. When management is unavailable for feedback during time-sensitive projects, it may hinder the team's overall progress. 2. Competition between departments. As employees within each department work together, they begin to operate as a team with a focus on achieving specific goals. This goal-oriented mindset, while typically positive, may prompt competition between departments. 3. Narrow scope. Without extra guidance and information from managers, employees within departments may work with limited knowledge of how their roles relate to the company's objectives. They may also not understand how their work relates to other departments. Type 3. Divisional structure. A divisional organizational structure is a system in which a company segments its employees based on products, markets, or territories, as opposed to their job roles. Let's discuss them in detail. Number 1. Market-based divisional structure. Divisions are separated by market, industry, or customer type. A large consumer goods company, like Target, Walmart, or Costco, might separate its durable goods, such as clothing, electronics, and furniture, from its food or logistics divisions. Number 2. Product-based divisional structure. Divisions are separated by product line. For example, a tech company might have a division dedicated to its cloud offerings, while the rest of the divisions focus on the different software offerings, such as Adobe and its creative suite of Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, etc. Number 3. Geographic divisional structure. Divisions are separated by region, territories, or districts, offering more effective localization and logistics. Companies might establish satellite offices across the country or the globe to stay close to their customers. This structure can be found in many large multinational companies. Here are some advantages of using a divisional structure. 1. Accountability and transparency. Because divisions have their own management groups to lead them, it's easier to hold individuals accountable for their actions. You can track which actions led to which results and assign responsibility accordingly. Each division works in their own best interest, which also means there's more transparency in who deserves credit for positive outcomes. 2. Gains local competitive advantage. A divisional structure can bring company a competitive advantage in local markets. By giving managers the autonomy to make business decisions within their scope, they can quickly change direction in response to localized changes. 3. Improves company culture. Using a divisional organization may improve company culture by allowing for unique perspectives at different levels. Senior managers may also feel more capable of modeling expected behavior when they're setting an example for a smaller group. 4. Increases offerings efficiently. Companies that want to increase their market share through more product options or greater geographic availability may find it more efficient to use a divisional structure that can accommodate expansion. Disadvantages of using a divisional structure include the following. 1. Costs more to operate. While your overall revenue may eventually benefit from a divisional structure, there are also higher operating costs. Unlike a functional organizational structure, you also likely need a centralized corporate division to oversee the rest of the company, which can lead to higher overhead costs. 2. Economies of scale. Economies of scale are the cost savings when an organization produces goods or services in a large quantity. The divisional structure prevents organizations from getting the most out of economies of scale, as a single division does not produce enough to take great benefits out of the economies of scale. 3. Encourages rivalries. Separate divisions may feel encouraged to treat each other as competitive rivals instead of part of the same company. Having independent goals can lead to increased office politics and management groups attempting to gain advantages. 4. Fosters silo mentality. Divisions often develop their own strategic focus and agenda, which may cause a resistance to change or a reluctance to collaborate, or a silo mentality. The silo mentality may make employees feel more isolated, both physically and psychologically, and instill a sense of exclusivity within them. Type 4. Flat structure. Flat organizational structure is an organizational model with relatively few or no levels of middle management between the executives and the frontline employees. Its goal is to have as little hierarchy as possible. This organizational structure is common in the tech industry, which is home to many small startups with flexible work arrangements. Some examples of companies that have adopted a flat organizational structure are Google, Amazon, and HubSpot. These companies share a common value in employee empowerment and satisfaction. They also operate in extremely fast-moving industries that require quick adaptation to succeed in their respective markets. Advantages. 1. Lower operating costs. When employees are given more freedom to make decisions, there is little need for mid-level management. This saves the business a significant amount of money on wages that can be directed elsewhere. 2. Improve communication. In a flatter structure, communication does not need to go through several intermediaries and becomes more efficient as a result. The quality of communication also increases because there is less potential for facts to be distorted or misinterpreted. 3. Increased employee motivation and satisfaction. Autonomous employees tend to be more motivated to produce desirable results for the company. This increases morale and productivity, while also decreasing employee turnover. Disadvantages. 1. Difficult for large organizations. The flat structure is most suited to startups and smaller businesses, with a manageable number of employees. In larger organizations, the ratio of employees to managers can become disproportionate. Management may be unaware of unmotivated or poorly behaving employees. They may also lack the required support to effect important decisions. 2. Low employee retention. While some employees will be content to work under a flat structure indefinitely, others will want to climb the corporate ladder. Given that there is little scope for promotion, aspiring employees may seek work elsewhere. 3. Creates power struggles. When employees do not have the overarching presence of a superior, power struggles can develop. This creates confusion and disharmony, and also causes a loss of productivity. Type 5. Matrix structure. The matrix organizational structure is a combination of two or more different kinds of organizational structures, such as project management or functional management. These two or more managerial systems intersect on a greater matrix. In 1970, Philips started using the matrix structure for the first time. It became so successful that other multinational organizations such as General Motors and Caterpillar Tractors adopted the same structure. Advantages. 1. Encourage collaboration. Perhaps the biggest advantage of a matrix structure is that it brings together highly skilled team members from different departments, allowing the organization to capitalize on the resources it already has, rather than seeking expertise in recruiting project team members from outside of the organization. 2. Increase efficiency. The matrix structure combines the project management structure with the functional management structure to increase efficiency, adapt to changing markets, and respond more quickly to market demand. 3. Develop new skill sets. Working outside of a traditional or hierarchical structure can benefit employees by helping them develop new skill sets and gain valuable experience from working with different departments. Disadvantages. 1. Unclear managerial and team roles. Since the power dynamics between the functional manager and the project manager may not be as clearly defined within the matrix, confusion about the specific managerial roles and team member roles may arise. 2. Slow decision-making process. Because of the nature of the matrix involving more than one manager, decisions that may be required to pass through both managers can sometimes take longer to process than in a traditional structure. 3. Too much work can cause overload. The matrix organization structure can also sometimes lead to work overload on team members, since their project workload is often in addition to their regular functional duties. Employees might suffer burnout or overload or fail to complete tasks, or have their quality of work suffer due to time constraints. 4. Difficult to measure performance. Oftentimes, when implementing a matrix structure, it may be difficult to gauge employee performance when working on a project. This is in part because team members may be essentially performing more than one role, both functionally and the tasks within the project. Type 6. Network structure. A network structure is one in which more than one organization combines to produce a good or provide a service. These organizations can either get into a partnership for a particular venture, or one organization can hire others to handle one or more of its functions, such as marketing, production, sales, and so on. An organization that has been using a network structure is H&M, a multinational clothing company based in Sweden. H&M has outsourced the production and processing of its goods to different Asian countries. Advantages. 1. Clearer focus. If a firm drops other functions except its core competency, it can have a clearer focus on what it does best. 2. Lower costs. Using a network organizational structure, work can be outsourced to other firms which specialize in that particular work. This way, the firm will not only face lower costs, but will also receive a better quality service than if it had done it by itself. 3. Flexibility. By outsourcing work, an organization is in a flexible position. This allows them to change their production techniques, quantity, and designs or stop production completely without facing any major problems. Disadvantages. 1. Lack of reliability and consistency. When a firm indulges in a network structure, it gets more spread out. As the network of an organization grows, it gets more and more difficult to control such a widespread network. 2. Lack of secrecy. When you outsource some work to another firm, that firm may also be doing work for your competitors. Your firm's secret information may get leaked to your competitors by the firm working for you. 3. Loss of control. When you outsource important work to external firms, you lose significant control over your operations. This way, you get dependent on the outside entities who can have significant power over you. 4. Sacrificing of profit. When you outsource work, you might also be sacrificing profit that you could have earned by yourself if you had done that outsourced work yourself. To sum up, in this video, we introduced the 6 most common types of organizational structures, which include hierarchical structure, functional structure, flat structure, divisional structure, matrix structure, and network structure. Please keep in mind that no one organizational structure is best for all businesses. Each type has its own advantages and disadvantages. When determining the right one for your company, think about how much power you would like to give your employees, how much room you would like to leave for innovation, how large your company is, and how much interaction among employees matters to you. All right.
Okay, in this video we covered 6 different organizational structure, okay, which was hierarchical structure, functional structure, flat structure, divisional structure, matrix structure, then network structure. Each system has its own good and bad things, okay? So you have to use this different organizational structure according to your working environment, and then the individual's abilities. It is so important. Okay, some structure can be working good with some other leadership style, and then some specialized environment and industry and business. So every structure has its own good things, and also it has its own bad things. So it is important that you use each of these organizational structure to depending to the system, which is very dependent on the abilities, and then leadership styles, and then also business style. Here we only gonna talk about, we don't cover 6 different organizational structure. We cover only a hierarchical, flat structure, and then matrix structure we're gonna study in this chapter. Okay. So the first one is a hierarchical structure. Hierarchical structure is the structure. It is most traditional and widespread. And then also, it is important that authority flows from top down in pyramid shapes. So with the leaders always at the top, and then subordinates at successive levels. So that structure is, just like a pyramid style here, and then in the video, we see the top one person controls other division members, other employees, and then individual. That is here a hierarchical structure. Traditionally, it is very common in leadership style with the organizational structure, that is hierarchical structure. So it has also a strength. This gives clear lines of authority. When we have this hierarchical structure, you know who is your boss. Okay, a very clear line. Who is manager? Who is the CEO? So, with the hierarchical structure, you can see who has authority and then power, and also accountabilities. And then another good thing about hierarchical structure is stability. Okay, and then also it has predictability in operations. It is also good for efficient decision making in large organizations. But it also has a weakness point about hierarchical structure. Sometimes it prevents creativity and innovations, because when you have to have something new, some kind of new project, you always have to get authority from your higher manager. So you have to go through many steps to get the approval. So it is not good for creativity and innovations. Also, it has risk of authoritarianism. It should be checked. When you have a hierarchical structure, it always should be checked by other organizations. Other parties. When we see check and balance, right? Something like that. So it should be needed when you do perform this hierarchical structure. So it has authoritarianism is 권위주의 in Korean. Okay? And then also it has big distance between the leaders and followers in communication. So it makes sometimes a barrier. Okay, you directly talk anything about your business and your organization to perform, to suggest a new project. You need to talk, the higher upscale, the manager and bosses, the authority. So it takes kind of time to for the decision to be made. So individual employee and any normal people in that organization to get approval and to get authority from a higher position and higher manager, it takes time. So sometimes it is hard for the communication to be flow easily. So it makes sometimes a barrier between leaders and followers. So we can see that hierarchical structure, example, church, like Catholic churches, there's a pope, right? And cardinals, bishops, priests. These are all part of hierarchical structure. Another example we can see in the school, like public school, district. There's district board members, right, and the superintendents and principals, teachers. These are all part of also hierarchical structure. Also, we can see this hierarchical structure in business, right? Corporation with CEO, managers, and employees. These are all part of good example of hierarchical structure. Also, when we see the Bible, we can find hierarchical structure. We don't say, any kind of structure, system, organizational structure is good or bad, okay? Every organizational structure has its own good things and its own, bad things. So it is very important for them to be used. It should be fairly depend on the situation that you have. Thank you. Okay, it is, we are doing page 2. So, we can find this hierarchical structure in the Bible, okay? The good example of this hierarchical structure is Moses. He used hierarchical structure. Book of Exodus, chapter 18, verse 21 through 26, you can find how he performed hierarchical structure. So, thing is like this: Moses appointed judges of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens to maintain the order in Jewish people. So this provides clarity and reduced leader burnout. But also it reinforced accountability at different levels. So let's see. Exodus chapter 18, 21 to 26. I'm gonna read. Moreover, look for able men from all the people, men who fear God, who are trustworthy and hate a bribe, and place such men over the people as chiefs, of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and tens. And let them judge the people at all times. Every great matter they shall bring to you, but any small matter they shall decide themselves. So it will be easier for you, and they will bear the burden with you. If you do this, God will direct you. You will be able to endure, and all these people also will go to their place in peace. So Moses listened to the voice of the father-in-law and did all that he had said. Moses chose able men out of all Israel and made them head of the people, chiefs of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens. So, and they judged the people at all times, and heard case they brought to Moses. about any small matter they decided themselves. This is good description about hierarchical structure in the Bible. Actually, Moses practiced this hierarchical structure in the Bible. Okay, another structure we are talking about is flat structure. Oh, okay, I missed. So, the hierarchical structure, the summary, it is most common structure and it is most representative of as chain of command. So authority flows from top to downwards, like in executives, pastors, principals. It has good strength about clear accountability, stability, and efficiency. So also it has a weak point. It can be rigid. It can be too slow for the decision to be made when we do hierarchical structure. So also it gives discourages for motivation and creativity. So we gotta be careful not to do rigid the barrier between leaders, followers, because it has many steps between normal people to managers. So sometimes it takes too much time for the decision to be made. Okay, next one is flat structure. Okay, before go with flat structure, we like to share one video of Moses in the Bible, how he performed a hierarchical structure and leadership. It has good example.
This stands as a towering figure in biblical history, a leader whose journey is not just a story of deliverance, but a profound lesson in what it means to lead with humility, reliance on God, and perseverance. His life offers rich insights into the qualities that define effective Christian leadership today. Let's delve into the key aspects of Moses' leadership and how they remain relevant for us. Moses' early life is a testament to God's providence and purpose. Born during a time of oppression, when Pharaoh decreed the death of Hebrew boys, Moses was saved from certain death by the courageous act of his mother, who placed him in a basket on the Nile River. Adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, he grew up in the palace, fully aware of his Hebrew heritage. This dual identity created a crisis for Moses. He was raised as an Egyptian, yet his heart was with his people, the Israelites, who were enslaved and suffering. This internal conflict culminated in a pivotal moment when Moses witnessed an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. In a moment of rage and desperation, he intervened, killing the Egyptian. This act of violence forced him to flee to Midian, marking the beginning of a significant transformation in his life. In Midian, Moses spent 40 years as a shepherd, a period often overlooked but crucial for his development as a leader. It was here, in the solitude of the wilderness, that God prepared him for the monumental task ahead. This time of humility and reflection was not wasted. It was a formative experience where Moses learned the value of patience, listening, and relying on God's timing. When God finally called Moses from the burning bush, it was not with a booming voice of authority, but in a gentle yet commanding way, asking him to return to Egypt and lead his people to freedom. Moses' initial response to God's call was one of reluctance. He doubted his abilities, citing his lack of eloquence and fear of rejection. This hesitation reveals a profound truth about leadership. It is often not our strengths that qualify us, but our willingness to rely on God's power. God reassured Moses that he would be with him, emphasizing that it is not about personal qualifications, but about divine empowerment. This lesson is vital for Christian leaders today. We must acknowledge our limitations and trust that God equips those he calls. One of the most striking characteristics of Moses' leadership is his humility. The Bible describes him as very humble, more than all men who were on the face of the earth. This humility allowed Moses to be receptive to God's guidance and correction. He did not seek glory or personal ambition. Rather, he prioritized God's will above all else. For contemporary Christian leaders, this serves as a reminder that true leadership is rooted in humility. It requires recognizing our dependence on God and being willing to serve others selflessly. Moses' journey was not without challenges. He faced fierce opposition from Pharaoh, who repeatedly hardened his heart against letting the Israelites go. Despite the rejection and the daunting task ahead, Moses demonstrated remarkable perseverance. He continued to confront Pharaoh, trusting in God's promises and power. This persistence is a critical trait for leaders today. We will encounter obstacles and setbacks, but like Moses, we must remain steadfast in our mission, believing that God will guide us through. Moreover, Moses' relationship with God was central to his leadership. He communicated with God intimately, often described as speaking face to face. This deep dependence on God was not just for guidance, but also for intercession. Moses regularly prayed for the Israelites, pleading for God's mercy when they sinned. This highlights the role of a leader as an advocate for their people. In our leadership roles, we too must cultivate a close relationship with God, marked by prayer and dependence, especially in times of crisis or uncertainty. Even great leaders like Moses faced personal failures. His moment of frustration, when he struck the rock instead of speaking to it as God commanded, serves as a cautionary tale. This act of disobedience had significant consequences, reminding us that leadership comes with a responsibility to follow God's commands faithfully. It is essential for leaders to learn from their mistakes and to remain humble and obedient to God's direction. So, what can we take away from Moses' example for our own leadership journeys? First, we must lead with humility, recognizing that our authority comes from God, not our own abilities. Second, we must be obedient to God's calling, even when we feel inadequate. God equips those he calls, and our willingness to step out in faith is crucial. Third, perseverance is key. Challenges and opposition will arise, but we must trust that God will work through these difficulties to fulfill his purposes. Finally, we must prioritize our relationship with God, engaging in constant prayer and seeking his guidance. As we reflect on Moses' life, we can ask ourselves important questions. In what ways can we relate to Moses' feelings of inadequacy or reluctance in leadership? How can we cultivate greater humility and dependence on God in our own leadership journey? What challenges have we faced, and how can Moses' perseverance inspire us to continue trusting God through those trials? Moses' legacy as a leader is not just a historical account. It is a blueprint for Christian leadership today. His humility, obedience, perseverance, and deep relationship with God serve as guiding principles for all who aspire to lead in faith. Let us learn from his journey and strive to embody these qualities in our own lives.
Okay, just to watch it, a good example of leadership style in the Bible, which was we just looked up a video about a good example of leadership and that good organizational structure, hierarchical structure of Moses in the Bible. Okay, let's move on to another organizational structure we can talk about. It is flat structure. Flat structure is like it has just few and no levels of middle management. It is a kind of a simple structure. Okay, it is good for kind of collaborational structures. So mostly hierarchical structure is you have a CEO, you have a manager, many different level of manager. Then we have employee, right? It is like shaping pyramid, right? The boss is on the top, and then normal employees is at the bottom. That's hierarchical structure. But kind of flat structure is like there's boss, but all individual or employee have almost the same levels. There's maybe no manager, okay, maybe no CEO or boss, something like that. That is flat structure. So it is good for the research group, right? Many number of professors, they do academic research. Okay, they can exchange their ideas and thoughts, projects, right? So sometimes it is good for that collaboration purpose structure. So we use flat structure system in our organization. So flat structure has just few level, maybe no level of manager. Okay, so yeah. I don't say certain structure is good or the best. Okay, it depends on the purpose of your organization. Okay, so sometimes hierarchical structure is not good for academical research, right? But sometimes hierarchical structure is good for the company, right? For the business company, it is good system. So it depends what kind of purpose, what kind of organizational vision you have. You have to consider those things first. Okay, so decision is decentralized. Okay, and then the authority is distributed to all members, right? These are all professors. So they have all part of authorities and responsibility because there's no manager like this. Okay, CEO, like manager, employee. Not like this kind of system. Okay, flat is just like that. There's no manager, or just one or two managers. That's it. Yeah. So it has a good point that we have a flat structure that encourages participation and innovations. Also that promotes equality and open communications. And it also fosters team spirit and collaboration, right? Like big company, let's say Samsung, that is big company, right? Is it easy for you as normal employee talking to the CEO, Mr. Lee? It's not easy, right? Because that system has simply hierarchical structure, not flat structure. So we have once we have flat structure between all the members, all the individuals, the communication is very easy. Because all these members take the responsibility and then part of authority. So, communication is very good when we have flat structure. But also it has, in terms of weak point, when we have flat structure. Sometimes it lacks in ability of decision making, right? Sometimes there should be, time for decision should be made, right? But everybody has authority, everybody has responsibility. Sometimes, they don't make decision because there's no higher position like manager, authorities. So because they share all, responsibility, authority equally, so sometimes it takes too much to make decision. Like hierarchical structure, the CEO or manager give you the order that was coming from decision, right? Then the normal employee just do what, no matter what decision is like, okay? So it is very, different from hierarchical structure when we do a flat structure. It is really hard to make clear decision. Also, it is really work good in small scale, okay? Small number of people, okay? Let's say we have just only, 10, 10 people in group, right? So everybody participate in making decision. Everybody take part of some responsibility. It is good for small group, flat. So everybody has, they do their autonomy, they do have any opinion, they can share each other easily because people are, very, limited, right? Just small number of people in that group. But let's say people have 1,000, is it gonna be work in good flat system? No, right? So like we saw the example of Moses and Bible Exodus one more time. Here Moses, he made the judges. Okay, he made one judge from 1,000 people. Okay, and then he also made 100 people another manager. Okay, and then 10 people another manager. That's the system, hierarchical system. Because there are many people. If there is everybody has authority, can we make decision? Everybody has 1,000 authorities. No, we cannot make decision. Everybody has different opinion, right? Some people say, my idea is good, really good. And the others say, no, my idea is the best one. So we cannot do this when we have many people. Okay, just the small people we can do. Practice flat structure. Okay. And then, that is weak point. So sometimes there's also conflict between people. Like 10 people. 10 people. 10 people have shared, authority, right? So there's a chance of conflict between people. Like I said before, okay? Everybody has authority, everybody has responsibility. So I strongly suggest my opinion is the best. That sometimes I can argue with your idea. So that makes conflict too. Because we don't have manager. Yeah. Sometimes when we have conflict, different opinion, the manager arranges, right? Yeah. Sometimes manager come here, both good ideas. Okay, yeah, I hear you guys. Okay. You have good idea too, and you have good idea too. But as I am the manager, I think, John, your idea is better at this time. So we're gonna go with your idea because there's a manager. He is giving an idea, which opinion is good or not, right? For a certain purpose or for a certain time. So flat idea is sometimes it gives a conflict between members. Okay, let's see example of flat structure in the church. When we see earlier history of Christian church, they do flat structure. There was no leader. Okay. So all believers, they share the responsibility. We can see Book of Acts, chapter 2, 42 and 47. And then a private school, private Christian school, sometimes teachers, they share because they don't have manager, only principal. So they share the responsibility and authority between teachers. Also, business. For the business, sometimes flat structure is good for startup business. What do you think? Okay, group of friends in the college. Once they graduate, they do start, the business, right? Start a business. A good example is like Facebook, right? Number of friends get together. They have good idea, right? So they share their ideas and then they made their idea realized, right? So at that time, everybody has their own responsibility, authority. Everybody has their own opinion. They share other, opinions and ideas. So it is good when we start, we have to have, Chur. It is like we have to be like, everybody is like manager. Everybody is like CEO. Okay? So for that reason, the flat structure is good for startup companies. Because there's no employee, there's no boss. Everybody is boss. So they take full responsibility, full authority to start the business for good visions like Facebook when they started. So other companies could too. And then we can see flat structure in the Bible too. So the early church in Jerusalem, they operated with relatively flat structure. They share the leadership, okay? They devoted themselves for the prayer and teaching, fellowship. Everybody is like manager, okay? So this promotes unity, but sometimes it needs a strong spiritual belief to avoid conflict and disorder. Okay, let's see. Let's read the book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 42, 47. And they devoted themselves to the apostle, teaching, and the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and prayers. And awe came on every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. And all who believed were together, had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all and any had needs. And day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved. So early church member, I'm not saying normal people, okay? Flat system, they feel like I'm the owner, I'm the manager, I have the authority, okay? It is more important when we do a flat system, make people feel like they have owned the system. Make them feel like manager or owner. That is important. Not just like normal people, not like followers. Once people have kind of ownership mind, right? They do their best to achieve certain goals, right? So it is important when we do flat system, flat structure, make people have in their mind ownership of the organization. So we can see in early church, everybody has like ownership, like responsible authority. So they do actively participate in church activities in early church. Okay, another structure is matrix structure. Matrix structure is like combination of hierarchical structure and cross-functional structure. Like, it is like members, they may report their project, their ideas, their outcome to more than one leader. Like, for example, both, department head or project manager, like this. Matrix, okay, I will make simple structure, simple diagram. Okay, C, E, O, right? And then we have department, like, financial department, right? Company. Any company that has financial company, and then what companies like marketing department. Right? Marketing department. Another one is sales department. It is, and then another one is production department. Right? This is the most common business structure. Okay? There's finance manager, marketing department manager, sales department manager, production manager, right? And then we have many employees under, employee. Right? Here, many employees. Here, another employees. Here, another employees. This is like functional structure. Okay, hierarchical functional structure. C, many employees in certain department, right? Okay, sometimes matrix department is like something like this. Another structure that is project development. Let's say, for example, project, okay, development, okay. For this purpose, sometimes employee who is part of finance comes here, okay? And then sometimes employee of marketing department comes here. And then also sales employee comes here. And then production manager, department employee comes here. They do separately project development, like let's say Hyundai Automobile, okay, for next decade, for electricity. Electric car is most common in the future, right? So let's make new project for electric car. So all people comes participate in this structure, right? And then for project development, these people report to project development manager. Also, each individual also they report to finance manager. You know what I mean? Okay, employee he only report about finance to his financial manager. And then this guy, what is it? Marketing employee also. Okay, in this new electric car project, okay, what we're gonna do is marketing should be done in this way, like advertisement, commercial, right? So also he report this to project manager. Also he also report marketing manager too. You know what I mean? That is a matrix system structure. So members they report more than one manager. Okay, so it has in terms of good, strength. So it encourages collaboration from different scale, different department, right? Mostly when we have different departments, right? Like financial department employees only make relationship with people in that department, right? Easily. Here, marketing department employee they make relationship, they exchange idea only in this marketing, right? But when we have another, mixed system, they can share, they can understand other departments, ideas and opinions too. So it is good for collaborating. Also, it gives flexibility, and then also they can do they can fight, complex challenges. Let's say here, people have different skills get together for this project, right? Anything, you can make any project in the company, okay? Let's say, you see, in history there was a financial crisis, like more than 10 years ago, right? The subprime crisis, right? At that time, every business suffered from financial crisis. So they made, let's say, they make, financial projects to survive, in that crisis. So you can make another department, another project, and then make manager, and then borrow people from here, and then financial department here, and then sales department here, and then production department here. You can borrow people from any department, make another project. So it has, financial crisis. Is it only financial department's job? What do you think? Okay, they are best known about financial, but everyone has financial crisis. Not only that company, right? Other business too. when we have supply, crisis. So we can exchange. These guys are best for finance, but we can listen other departments' ideas too. So they can collaborate, they can make better idea to fight, financial crisis. So it is good for complex challenges. Also, it has balanced authorities, right? Okay. Also, it has weak points too. Weak points too. What can be weak? Confusion. Okay, I am employed. I work for project development, as I am originally, member of sales department. And then for new project, I am the member of project development. Sometimes project development manager give you order, right? And then I also receive the order from sales department manager. What do you think? Can it be confusion? Right? It can be confusion. So project development manager give me an order, prepare sales report for last year 2024, because we can predict next year's sales volume, right? But originally my department manager can tell me because everybody has getting problem with financial crisis, so don't do it, Sales department manager told me, give me order. How we can cut down the employees? Because we have to reduce the expenses. Sales department, when we are good, we have 1,000 employees, only sales department. Because we have financial crisis. So make number of employees it was 1,000 employees, now make 500. Because we have to save employee salary, right? To survive, when we have financial crisis. So it is, sometimes conflict comes together. Sales project development as sales department, he has good perspectives about future, but this sales department manager, he has kind of very critical moment will come next to it. So sales department manager told me we have to prepare, because hardest things coming, right? But project development, even though when we face challenges, hardest things coming to our company, but we have to more actively challenge, the crisis. So maybe project development manager can say, we need more employee to fight crisis coming from, financial crisis. So sometimes it makes confusion too. It is example of, okay, because you are, cross department member, you are project development member, or you are also, sales department. So there's, sometimes risk of manager and competing priorities, right? Conflict between. So, sales department manager, okay, project development manager, they do have also conflict. Okay. Also employee too. Me, myself, also inside. Okay. Which order do I have to follow? Financial manager order or project manager order? So, this conflict also, arranged, resolved easily when we have, big, good structure of company. But this is example, okay, make you understand. Okay, when we have a conflict between, departments. So, example, church, like, large ministry congregations, sometimes pastors, they do both functional team, they do, worship, and then they do, cross ministry, like, missionaries and outreaches. Sometimes, you are pastor in the church, you do, you are a member of, different department. You do worship in Sunday, and then you do another part in outreach and missional programs too. Okay, here, good example, like, schools, like university, you are professor, but you're not only teaching students, okay? You also part of management group too. Yeah. Me, I'm teaching in this university, and then we have another branch. In that branch, I do manager work too. So, yeah. Yeah. So department, you could do department member or the chairman, or also at the same time, you can teach students. Like here, business, regional manager and product manager, big company. Okay, let's say Hyundai Automobile, okay. Production manager, he has responsibility making new car, right? And then also sometimes people have regional manager, like California, Hyundai Automobile manager, or Washington, Oregon, or something like that. Yeah. So it gets multiple regional. Okay, it's time to wrap up. Okay, one more. So, also we can find good example in the Bible about matrix structure, which is coming from with Paul, Apostle Paul. Okay. Paul's missionary journey that reflects matrix dynamic, matrix structure. He was accountable to Jerusalem apostle while he managed his own church planting intents. So Paul has two different, positions. Originally, he was doing things, spreading gospels in Jerusalem too. Okay, and then also he was working with people, another apostles in Jerusalem, right? And then he also have his own project. He made many churches, church planting in other areas, not in Jerusalem, like Corinthian, Ephesians, something like that. Yeah. So this dual accountability that advances mission effectiveness, but also requires careful negotiation of authorities. Sometimes two different departments, they have both authority about myself, right? So sometimes authority conflicts. So there should be careful adjustment between authorities. When we use